I always considered myself a reasonably responsible person when it came to money. I wasn't someone who spent thousands of dollars on luxury items, expensive vacations, or things I couldn't afford. I paid my bills, avoided major debt, and tried to make sensible financial decisions. Because of that, I assumed my finances were under control. But one day I came across a simple challenge that completely changed my perspective. Track every single dollar you spend for 30 days. At first, it sounded almost too simple to be useful. How much difference could it really make? I already knew where my money was going, or at least I thought I did. Still, I decided to give it a try. For the next month, I promised myself that I would record every expense, no matter how small. Every coffee, every snack, every online purchase, every transportation cost, every subscription, every bill, and every unexpected expense. If money left my pocket, it went into the record. The first few days felt easy. I was motivated and curious. Every time I spent money, I quickly wrote it down. But something interesting happened almost immediately. Recording my expenses forced me to become aware of decisions that I usually made automatically. Suddenly, I wasn't just spending money, I was noticing it. A small drink from a convenience store wasn't just a drink anymore. It became a choice. An impulse purchase wasn't just something I bought. It became a decision that I had to acknowledge. For the first time, I started paying close attention to the countless financial decisions that filled my day. By the end of the first week, I had already learned something surprising. The problem wasn't one huge expense. It wasn't a luxury item or an expensive mistake. The real problem was the collection of small purchases that seemed completely harmless on their own. A snack here, a drink there, an online purchase that was on sale, a subscription I barely used. None of them seemed important individually. In fact, most of them felt insignificant. But when I looked at the total amount at the end of the week, I was shocked. These small expenses had quietly accumulated into a number far larger than I expected. As the challenge continued, I started noticing patterns. I discovered that I spent more money when I was bored. Whenever I had nothing important to do, I was more likely to browse online stores, buy unnecessary items, or spend money simply for entertainment. I also noticed that stress influenced my spending. After a difficult day, I often justified purchases by telling myself that I deserved a reward. The amount wasn't always large, but the habit was powerful. I realized that many of my financial decisions had very little to do with actual needs and much more to do with emotions. One of the most eye-opening discoveries involved subscriptions. Like many people, I had signed up for various services over time. Some were useful. Others had become almost invisible. Because the payments were automatic, I rarely thought about them. But when I reviewed every expense, I found several subscriptions that I barely used. Individually, they didn't seem expensive. Together, however, they represented a surprisingly large amount of money each year. It was like finding small leaks in a bucket that I thought was perfectly sealed. By the second week, something unexpected happened. Tracking my expenses started changing my behavior. Before buying something, I would ask myself a simple question. Is this worth recording? That question sounds strange, but it became incredibly powerful. Many times, I decided not to make a purchase because I knew I would have to write it down later. The simple act of creating awareness reduced unnecessary spending. I wasn't forcing myself to live miserably. I wasn't eliminating every enjoyable purchase. I was simply becoming more intentional. Another surprising lesson was that earning more money and managing money are not the same skill. For years, I believed that increasing income was the primary solution to financial problems. While income is certainly important, this challenge taught me that awareness and discipline are equally valuable. A person can earn a great deal of money and still waste it through careless habits. The challenge also revealed something deeper than financial habits. It showed me the relationship between awareness and control. Before the challenge, I often felt that money simply came and went. After tracking every dollar, I felt more in control. Not because I had more money, but because I had more information. I knew exactly where my money was going. As the final days approached, I reviewed the entire month. What I found genuinely surprised me. The most important lesson wasn't the amount of money I had saved. It wasn't a budgeting technique or a secret financial strategy. At the end of the 30 days, I wasn't suddenly wealthy. My bank account hadn't doubled overnight. I didn't discover a magical formula for becoming rich. But I gained something that many people never develop: a clear understanding of my financial behavior. I learned that small expenses matter. I learned that emotions influence spending more than logic. Looking back, what shocked me most wasn't how much money I spent. It was how little attention I had been paying before. For years, I believed I understood my finances. 30 days of tracking every dollar proved that I barely knew the full story. And once you truly see where your money goes, you begin to understand something powerful. Financial freedom doesn't start when you earn more. It starts when you become aware. That simple habit changed the way I think about spending, saving, investing, and building wealth. And it's a lesson I will carry with me long after the challenge is over.